Okay, so when you hear 19th century Russian novel, you're probably thinking something long, maybe a little dense, right? Well, I want you to forget all of that for a second, because Fyodor Dostoevsky's final masterpiece, The Brothers Karamazov, is something else entirely. It's an explosive family drama, a straight-up gripping murder mystery, and on top of all that, it's like a philosophical courtroom where the soul of all humanity is put on trial. And like all the best stories, it kicks off with a really shocking crime.
But before we even get to the whodunit, let's just pause on the central question Dostoevsky throws right at us. And I want you to really think about this for a second. Would you trade your freedom to end all suffering in the world? I mean, if you could guarantee total happiness for everyone, end all pain, but the price was your own freedom to choose, would you do it? It's not a trick question, I promise. It is the absolute core debate that just rips through this entire story.
All right, so let's get into it. And to do that, we gotta meet the family at the center of this whole mess, the Karamazovs. And trust me, they're not just your average dysfunctional family. Nope. They're more like a tiny version of society, of humanity, really, just teetering on the edge of a philosophical cliff. You know, every great drama needs that one character who just lights the fuse. And for us, that's Fyodor Pavlovich Karamazov. This guy. He's driven by pretty much two things, greed and lust. He's a father in name only, having basically abandoned all his kids. But now they're adults, they're back, and his very presence is setting up this massive collision of money, desire, and some seriously long-simmering resentment. So, Fyodor's terrible parenting created three sons who are about as different as you can get. And they're not just characters, you know? They're like living, breathing worldviews. First up, you've got Dmitri, the oldest. He's all passion, just living for the moment. Then there's Ivan, the middle son, this brilliant but kind of cold intellectual who's wrestling with all the big questions. And last, we have Alyosha, the youngest. He's the gentle soul, the moral compass, trying to find truth through faith. So you've got passion, intellect, and spirit. And yeah, they're all headed straight for each other. Okay, so this clash of ideas, it all builds to this incredible peak. And it happens mostly inside the mind of one brother, Ivan Karamazov. His intellectual rebellion, man, it is the philosophical heart of this book. It's a challenge so deep that Dostoevsky basically uses the rest of the entire novel just to try and answer it. And this is where Ivan kicks things off. If there is no God, everything is lawful. Think about that. If there's no God, no ultimate judge, no afterlife, then where do our morals even come from? What are they based on? For Ivan, it's simple. Without God, good and evil kind of lose their meaning. Anything, and I mean anything, no matter how awful, could be justified. But here's the thing, Ivan's disbelief, it isn't just some cold academic argument. No, it comes from a place of deep, gut-wrenching moral outrage. He's completely obsessed with these real-world stories of just unimaginable cruelty, especially towards children. Kids being tortured, abused, for nothing. And for Ivan, any god who would create a world where that's even possible, well, that's a monster. Any divine plan that needs that kind of suffering as part of the deal, he's not having it. It's totally unacceptable. And this right here, this is such a crucial point. Ivan isn't saying God doesn't exist. He's saying, I reject the world you made. He just cannot, in good conscience, sign off on a universe that's built on a foundation of senseless pain, especially the suffering of innocent kids who've done absolutely nothing to deserve it. So this whole rebellion of his, it builds up to what is honestly one of the most famous chapters in all of literature. It's called The Grand Inquisitor. Ivan basically tells his brother Alyosha about this poem he's thought up. The scene, Jesus comes back to Earth right in the middle of the Spanish Inquisition. He starts performing miracles, and what happens? He's immediately arrested by the Grand Inquisitor, this 90-year-old cardinal, who then goes to his cell to deliver this absolutely devastating speech. So the Inquisitor basically tells Jesus, you made a huge mistake. He says, you offered people freedom, but they don't want freedom. They're too weak for it. What they want is to be safe and have full bellies. So he explains, the church has corrected your work. Step 1, they give people bread because, hey, you can't ask a starving person to be good, right? Step 2, they give them miracle and mystery, taking away the agony of having to choose for themselves. And step 3, they take up the sword of Caesar. They use worldly power to force everyone into a stable, unified society. In short, they've traded that terrifying burden of freedom for guaranteed happiness. And that's it. That's Ivan's final stand, wrapped up in the story he tells. When he's faced with the choice between some perfect heaven that's built on the suffering of even one child and his own rebellion, he rejects the whole deal. He's out.
He refuses to play the game. He's respectfully returning his ticket to salvation.
But Dostoevsky is not about to let Ivan's argument just hang there unanswered. Of course not. He gives us this powerful counterargument, but it's not based on logic. It comes from the lived faith of an old monk, Father Zosima, and his student, who happens to be our hero, Alyosha. And Zosima's response, man, it is a complete 180 from Ivan's whole worldview. Ivan is all about picking apart individual acts of evil, demanding a logical reason for them. Zosima just blows those boundaries away. He calls for this radical, universal responsibility. His whole point is that no sin ever happens in a vacuum. We're all mystically connected, which means, yeah, we're all responsible in some way for the sins of the world. And this isn't some faith built on dusty old proofs or arguments. It's a demanding real-world practice he calls active love. It's a worldview built on empathy and this deep, mystical sense of connection, not logic. For Zosima, heaven isn't some place you go when you die. It's right here, right now. It's the ability to love. And hell? Whoa. Hell is the personal agony of being unable to love. It's really the ultimate answer to Ivan's cold logic, the idea that the cure for suffering isn't found in your head, but in the tough, day-to-day work of opening your heart. Okay, so we have these two huge competing philosophies, but this isn't just an academic debate club. The murder of their awful father, Fyodor, becomes the bloody stage where these ideas are put to the ultimate test, and the consequences are literally life and death. So when Fyodor turns up dead, the whole story just shifts gears. The question isn't just a simple whodunit anymore. It becomes, who is really guilty? That courtroom, it's not just for a murder trial. It's an arena where Ivan's everything is lawful idea goes head-to-head with Zosima's we're all responsible belief. And this is where we have to bring in the fourth son, the rumored illegitimate one, Pavel Smerdyakov. He's a servant in the house. He's resentful, he's smart, and he's been listening very, very closely to Ivan's philosophical rants. And when Ivan says everything is lawful, Smerdyakov doesn't hear a cool intellectual theory. He hears an instruction manual. So, who's actually to blame here? The book's answer is this messy, complex web of guilt that the legal system just can't figure out. Dmitri, the passionate one, he gets convicted. He didn't actually do it, but he accepts his punishment because he knows he wanted his father dead. He felt that hate. Then there's Smerdyakov, the actual murderer. He puts Ivan's philosophy into practice, but finds he can't live with it and kills himself. And what about Ivan? Legally, totally innocent. But morally, he's the one who loaded the gun. His big idea that everything is lawful gave Smerdyakov the permission he needed. So in the end, Dostoevsky does something brilliant. He just refuses to give us a neat, tidy answer. The real power of this book isn't in some final conclusion. It's in the massive questions it asks, questions that he basically just turns around and points right back at us. He makes you look right into the abyss with Ivan. Can you, personally, accept any grand cosmic plan, any greater good, if the price of admission is the torture of just one single innocent child? Is that ever okay? Then he asks you to really listen to the Grand Inquisitor's chilling logic. Are we actually strong enough for total freedom? Or, if we're being honest with ourselves, do we secretly just want to be safe and fed, to have someone else make the tough calls, even if it costs us our free will? And finally, he hits you with Zosima's radical challenge. If you actually believe we're all connected, that we all share responsibility for the world, what does that demand of you? How does that change the way you live your life, minute by minute, day by day? So what's Dostoevsky's final word in this epic showdown between faith and doubt? Well, back in Ivan's poem, after the Inquisitor finishes his crushing monologue, Jesus says nothing. Not a single word. He just walks up to the old man and kisses him. And maybe that's the point, that the only real answer to the most powerful intellectual argument against faith isn't another argument. It's a silent act of radical love and forgiveness. And so the book just leaves us there with one last, very personal question. In the courtroom of your own life, with all its passions, its doubts, its hopes, who are you? Are you a Dmitri, led by your heart, an Ivan, ruled by your head, or an Alyosha, guided by your soul? Dostoevsky doesn't tell you the answer. That's one you have to figure out for yourself.